Hello and welcome to another one of our how-to guides. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to make a grouped heart design today, bearing in mind Valentine's coming up as well. So I'm starting off with an open heart. This one's a foam backed one, but you can get plastic back. I'm using some Ming fern and some large pittosporum elan, that's the variegated one. Some bun moss or cushion moss, you might know it as. I have some dyed birch red, appropriately for Valentine's, some madam red roses and some eucalyptus cinerea. As far as accessories are concerned, I've got an Oasis knife, my scissors, and these are a 71 by 180 wire that I've literally cut in half and then made into a hairpin. I'm going to use those just to secure the moss with. So we've soaked the Oasis heart. I'm just going to trim a little bit off the edge of the Oasis frame, simply just to give it a little bit more definition, give you a slightly more rounded edge to the frame. Literally just shaving off the edge with my Oasis knife, with my crafting knife. And just repeat the same on the inner part of the heart. I'm going to start off with some of the Ming fern. And Ming fern is absolutely beautiful for filling in with. Is slightly vicious in the respect that it has sharp barbs on it. So like most asparagus, to be honest, it has these little thorns. So just be a little bit aware when you're working with it. Don't sort of grab hold of it too tightly because it will fight back. Okay, so just cutting some little pieces to make a start. Now the end of the heart, just to maintain the shape, we want to keep a nice little point where it naturally has a point. Cut that little piece off. And thread those into the Oasis. Now I'm going to do this as a grouped heart, so starting off with the Ming fern as the first part of the group. And then filling that in all over the heart. Now the only disadvantage with a foam based heart frame as opposed to a plastic based heart frame is when you push the stems into it, any water that comes out literally doesn't have anywhere to go. If you use a plastic base, which I would recommend if you're doing something on tables, oops, can't see where that was then. I would recommend using a plastic base if you're doing an arrangement that's going to sit on a table that has a tablecloth on, or you want to top the arrangement up with water regularly. It has the plastic base has a little bit more of a reservoir where you can fill the water. So unfortunately, if you top this one up with water, the water's just going to run over the sides. So obviously, if you are watering it, make sure you pop it somewhere like a draining board or somewhere like that, so you don't damage any furniture. Now I'm going to add some moss. And this I'm just going to pin in with the little hairpins that I've made. Pin that into the Oasis so they're nice and secure. You can use mossing pins, that would be absolutely fine. The only thing is the moss that I'm using today has quite a depth to it. So if you use a mossing pin, it's not actually going to go all the way through the moss. You can trim that, and that's not detrimental to the moss. Just cutting a little bit of the back of the moss off, so it's also flatter and it's not so deep, and then it nestles quite happily onto the oasis base. So now I'm going to add some roses. Just move those out of the way. I always tend to group in odd numbers, either 3s, 5s, 7s or 9s. It's not essential, but I find odd numbers work better. Now I'm going to use some of the rose leaves as well, just to fill in a little bit. And one of my little catchphrases is, you pay for the whole stem, so you may as well use it. Oops, I need to cut that down a bit shorter. Got a big death crunch then. Just adding those leaves in just to fill that little bit of space. You can see how we've started to get our grouping. We've got the ming, the moss and the roses. Now I'm going to put some of the pittosporum elan in. Cut that down into little groups. Oops. Add that in. And keeping it nice and even, and you've got quite clearly defined groupings. The pittosporum elan is a really lovely foliage to use. I think all variegated foliage work well mixed in with other types of greenery, because they give added texture, added colour, and by having that different colour it defines the grouping a little bit better. There we go. So that's the pitto. I'm just going to put some more moss in next. Grab some moss. So again, this piece is quite nice and flat. This piece is quite deep. So I'm going to trim a little bit off the back of the moss. Good old floristry scissors. These carbon blade floristry scissors are absolutely amazing, I have to say. They may be slightly more expensive than the value ones, but my goodness, they're worth it. They last so well and will cut all manner of things. Just again using the little hairpins just to pin that moss in. You can hear it going into the oasis, and then add that last piece. That's nice and secure. You haven't actually got smelly vision there, but you can actually really smell the moss, can't you? It smells very earthy, very forest-like. So then I'm going to add some more roses. This variety of rose is Madame Red, and it tends to be a slightly more open, more blousy rose than some of the others. Put that in. Putting them in, pushing them in nice and deeply so that they do drink quite well. Three of those, and again I'm going to use just some of the rose foliage just to fill in with. And there's also an additional texture to the arrangement as well. So now I'm going to add a little group of eucalyptus cinerea. Now, eucalyptus is one of my favourite foliage. Has a really lovely aromatic fragrance. If you get an opportunity, go and have a little look at our how-to guide on varieties of eucalyptus, the history and the legends. It's just amazing what it's used in. Okay, so just adding that little piece of eucalyptus. Well, not so little actually, quite a big piece of eucalyptus. Again, in the keeping as a group. The eucalyptus is also adding yet another texture and another colour, so adding interest to the arrangement. As you can see, just hold that up so you can see where we've got to so far. And then you literally just continue going all the way around the heart in the same way. So once you've finished your design and you've got a nice even balance, just to give it that little bit of an added texture, added bit of interest, I'm going to add some pieces of dyed red birch now. And following the shape of the heart, just wind it in and around the design. A bit shorter. If you find it easier, you can actually wire the twigs or the birch into the design. I'm actually just cutting them and folding them back in on themselves. But either way would work. And you can see how that's just helping to reinforce the shape. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed watching our open heart group design. Hopefully it's given you some inspiration to create something like that yourself. Hopefully join us again another day. Thank you for watching.